Sarah woke abruptly to the sound of a knock at her front door. She glanced at the clock. It was 2:13 a.m., far too late for visitors. Her heart pounded as she crept to the window, peeking through the curtains. The porch light flickered, casting eerie shadows, but she saw no one. Another knock echoed through the house, louder and more insistent this time. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as she tried to convince herself it was just the wind. She decided to ignore it, hoping it would go away. Clutching her phone, she headed back to bed, every creak of the floorboards amplifying her fear. The knocking grew relentless, pounding like a heartbeat, shaking the door on its hinges. Sarah couldn't take it anymore. She dialed 911, her fingers trembling. The operator's voice was calm and reassuring, but it did little to soothe her nerves. "Stay on the line," they instructed, but Sarah's connection suddenly cut out. She was plunged into silence, the knocks continuing unabated. Gathering her courage, she approached the door, peering through the peephole. A pair of eyes stared back at her, bloodshot and unblinking. She stumbled backward, her mind racing with terror. Sarah locked the door, bolting every possible latch. The knocking stopped abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence. Just as she began to relax, her phone buzzed with a new message. It read, "Let me in, Sarah." Her blood ran cold as she realized whoever it was knew her name. She checked all the windows, making sure they were securely shut. A crash sounded from the back of the house, shattering glass echoing through the halls. Sarah's pulse quickened. Someone was inside. She grabbed a kitchen knife, her only source of comfort in the moment. Quietly, she moved towards the noise, praying she wouldn't have to use it. Footsteps echoed from the living room, slow and deliberate. Sarah hid behind the kitchen counter, trying to steady her breathing. The footsteps stopped just outside the kitchen entrance. She peeked around the corner and saw a dark figure silhouetted against the moonlight. The figure spoke in a raspy whisper, "I've been waiting for you, Sarah." Her grip tightened on the knife, her fear turning to a desperate resolve. In a flash, she lunged, but the figure vanished like smoke. Panic surged through her as she realized it was toying with her. She ran to her bedroom, locking the door behind her. Her mind raced, searching for a way out. The window seemed like her only escape. She opened it and began to climb out when a cold hand grabbed her ankle. Sarah screamed, kicking frantically to break free. The hand released her, and she tumbled to the ground below. Dazed but determined, she scrambled to her feet and ran to her neighbor's house. She banged on the door, shouting for help. Lights flickered on inside, and Mr. Thompson opened the door, his face a mix of concern and confusion. "Sarah, what's wrong?" he asked, pulling her inside. She explained everything between gasps for breath. Mr. Thompson called the police, promising to keep her safe until they arrived. Minutes felt like hours as they waited. The house was eerily quiet, the only sound the ticking of a clock. Suddenly, a loud bang came from the basement. Mr. Thompson grabbed a baseball bat, motioning for Sarah to stay put. He descended the stairs, bat raised and ready. Sarah's heart pounded as she listened, straining to hear any sign of struggle. There was a shout and then silence. Fear gripped her as she edged towards the basement door. Mr. Thompson reappeared, his face pale. "There's no one here, Sarah, but the window is broken." Relief washed over her, but a nagging fear remained. She decided to stay with the Thompsons until the police arrived. The officers conducted a thorough search but found no trace of the intruder. They promised to patrol the area, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. She tried to sleep on the Thompsons' couch but kept waking to imagine noises. The night's events replayed in her mind, a haunting reminder of the danger. Morning came, bringing a semblance of safety with the daylight. But as Sarah walked back to her house, she noticed something chilling on her front door. A note, scrawled in red, read, "This isn't over, Sarah. I'll be back." Her heart sank, realizing the nightmare was far from over. The knock in the night had been just the beginning.